Hello friends, family and other creatures of the sea. Welcome back to a high level best of 5 of StarCraft 2. Today we have Classic in the bottom right spawning as our blue Protoss player, and in the top left as our red Protoss it's going to be Astrea. A PvP for the ages here, best of 5 style. Now this is still in the Brawlers Club 39 tournament, as we have 4 players: Beyond, Dark, Astrea and Classic. And this is going to be the only mirror match throughout the entirety of it. Every player will play a best of 5 against one another, and at the end the points get added up. Who has the most wins, who has the most map wins, and we'll see who will be victorious here. Yesterday we saw Beyond versus Dark, today Astrea Classic. And this is already starting out interesting, because this smells a little bit like it's going to be a Nexus first here. This has every indication to turn into a Nexus first. Look at this. Nexus first. Gateway at 17 as well. Okay. Very interesting. Now, this is a cute opener. This is a very cute opener. I like this opener, but we need to discuss the downsides, the disadvantages, the advantages of every single build order that we see. So here we have Astrea opening up with a faster Nexus, delaying his gateway a little bit. This means that the core is going to be delayed as well. This means that his tech is going to be delayed. So if Classic opens up with a Stargate, and Astrea opens up with a Stargate, a Phoenix War might ensue, which Classic should be considerably favored in. However, I think what Astrea wants is a ground type of game. I'd be surprised if he threw down a fast Stargate here. Because of that. Because his advantage is going to be in eco. He can produce a lot of Stalkers quite quickly out of multiple gateways, or he could tech into Blink very fast as well, off of a decent eco. Because the main advantage of the Nexus first, of course, is the superior economy. Your Nexus is about, well, what is it going to be? 28, 27 seconds faster. This Nexus finished at 210, and this Nexus is going to finish at 236 or so, I guess. So yeah, it's a 26, 27 second difference here. We see that Stargate go down immediately on the side of Classic, and as mentioned before, Astrea's Stargate is going to be considerably delayed by at least, well, 10 seconds here. If he wants to get a Stargate, it's a 13-second difference. I already feel like this Stargate for Classic was a little bit later than it should have been. He threw down his own Stargate at 2 minutes and 20 seconds into the game. That definitely can be faster. What? Oh. What? What? That is so interesting, because this is the only advantage that Classic had. The advantage that Classic had was the fact that he had a faster Stargate. And he's turning that advantage, the tech advantage, into an information advantage now. He knows that his opponent is playing Stargate, and he knows that his opponent thinks that Classic is also playing Stargate. Classic, as a result, switches quickly into Dark Templar and Blink, I think, here. Look at this. What are you doing, buddy? Yeah, this is going to be Dark Templar and Blink. And that's beautiful, because Astrea, in order to catch up, wants a fast second Stargate, goes into quick 4 gas here, and is probably going to be pulling up Phoenixes at home, allowing this Dark Templar transition to perhaps deal some damage. This is a really smart mind game. You could say, well, why would you cancel the Stargate? That's the only advantage you have, but he just turned that advantage and leveraged it into something else. A really cool way to play. Wait, this probe just went in and scouted. Oh my god, are you serious? You can't be serious. Let the probe in, and now this is awful. Where did this come from? Is what Classic is asking. Why would he, in a game that completely relies on information denial, let a probe walk into his main base, and as a result, give Astrea the ability to throw down a robotics facility, get a battery? Without that probe scout, this game would be 100% over right now. We get another cancel on a building. This time it is going to be the Dark Shrine, but Phoenixes know there's no Stargate, so they can freely move across the map. We have double Oracle as a kind of a response here as well. And now this might look like it's going to be for detection. It wouldn't surprise me if this is for harassment, and instead we get an observer for detection. I think this would be a really cool play here. A very correct play as well. How many units do we currently have? There's 6 units out. The one thing that is still in Classic's favor is that he's going to have a faster third base. And he also... he basically played his opponent again, right? Because At this moment, Astrea is preparing for those DTs, didn't really want to take a third base faster. And now I think Bill be kind of sad about that, the fact that there's no third base yet for him. Double Oracle though. These boys are gonna do something, aren't they? 3 Stalkers with Blink. We'll have to wait and see. 3 probes gone down so far already. Here come the Oracles. 1, 2. That's it. 1, 2, that's it. This Oracle gets to survive, so that's 2 kills for free basically. Now you have these massive assets here. Classic not paying attention. Could have taken out a probe there for free. Or sorry, Astrea not paying attention. Could have taken out one of Classic's probes for free. This is gonna get spotted. Which is a pretty big deal, honestly. So we see 4 gases for Astrea. He has a lot of assets that will help him in a longer game. But I'm not so sure if we're getting into that longer game. We see 3 more gates coming down, +1 as well. Feels like Classic is planning on going for a push. And at the end of the day, he already has a third base. He's mining from that already. We can see that here, represented in the mineral income. 300 minerals more per minute. Actually, even more. Like almost 400 minerals more per minute. And that's almost an entire Nexus that you're going to win. That's a bunch of gateways you can throw down. Same thing here, Astrea is going into this kind of Stargate Robo style. Void Rays, Immortals, getting every single Stargate unit out there. Getting a Robo Bay already as well, probably defensively good against Zealots, good against Archons. We'll have to see what Classic's plans are, but it wouldn't surprise me if he gets some type of +1 push out here. Would definitely be very useful. This Observer is gonna siege up or go into Observer mode, whatever you want to call it, and will be capable of spotting quite a bit here. Sees 2 stasis parts. What is this probe doing? Wanting to take a fort base, I guess? Yeah. Moving over to a fort is a very common move, of course. Taking a fort as you're starting to push out a little bit. Makes some sense. You can play around denying your opponent's fort if you can break them on 3 bases. So, if you're on 3 bases and you're trying to kill your opponent on 3 bases, Astrea in that case can just be building cannons because he's building a better army, right? So the advantage that Classic has, which is a current army advantage, can be kind of offset by just adding more static defense, and then the moment Astrea just has a big enough army, all of a sudden his army will start trading much better. So what Classic does is just say, okay, right now I have a better army and I can pressure you into building static defense. Now I'm getting a Nexus. And all of a sudden there's going to be economic pressure on you as well. Pressure for you to eventually expand towards a fort base perhaps, because I am going to be mining off that fort base. So it is not a direct type of pressure like an army move out can be, but that fort base still does something to Astrea. It forces him to balance between greed and defense, basically. Where before, if there's no fort base here for Classic, basically Astrea can invest everything in that defense. That's not going to be the case now. He needs to understand and he needs to act. Oh my god, what is that blink? That's an insane blink. Snipe that first disruptor for free. Oh no. It's a painful start here for Astrea, honestly, who seems to be in a, well, not a little bit of trouble. He's in a world of trouble here. 2 more Void Rays get sniped as well. Good control out of Classic. Is that next disruptor out? Yes, it is. Disruptor shot's going to connect with 10, 12 supply over there at once. Not enough cannons in the natural. This robotics facility is not building anything anymore, as it has been, well, pretty much denied with that pylon being taken out next to it. +2 on the way for Classic is about to finish up right now. There are a lot of Immortals out, but no upgrade on it, so Immortals still take 4 shots to take out a single Stalker. Phoenix is trying to come to the rescue. I'm not so sure if that's going to help out at all here. We don't see a single lift out of these Phoenixes so far, as that Prism gets sniped, more and more air units being taken out, and these are fine trades for Classic, no matter what happens. Simply well, nah, I say that, but the last part of the fight actually wasn't all that hot. I was gonna say it's fine because he's taking out so many of the more high value assets. He was taking out like Phoenixes, Oracles, a couple of Void Rays being taken out, which should be easily replenishable with a superior economy, right? Good upgrade, superior economy. But maybe he lost so much that now he can't keep his opponent on 3 bases anymore. That's the thing that scares me. Like, why would Astrea still be on 3 bases at this point? I don't think there's any reason for it. He's pretty much safe. You want to always keep enough army pressure on your opponent that expanding to a fort is scary. And now that that hasn't happened, this is basically a free fort base. We have Flux Veins on the way as well. There's carriers popping out left, right, and center. And Yeah, I actually believe that Classic could be in a little bit of trouble. This next little fight, this next little move out that he's going for is really important. He wants to cancel a fort base, but it's built somewhere else. This is unfortunate that he isn't aware of that, because if you're going to want to attack somewhere, it probably has to be at the fort base at this point, where there are no cannons yet, no batteries, no stasis wards just plastered around like they own the place. There are a couple of disruptors, but disruptors without too much in front of them, without the backup of the static, is not actually that powerful. So we'll have to wait and see if Classic can break this. It might become difficult though. That is a good disruptor shot. Almost takes out a couple of stalkers. That just gets a bunch of zealots. These zealots in the natural are trying to deal damage, but every second that goes by here in this game is probably a good second for Astrea. We don't see a transition yet coming out of Classic. Oh, it's an interesting disruptor shot. Another interesting disruptor shot. Neither of these are really going to connect in a big way. Ooh. Well, the stasis did connect in a big way, and now I feel like these Archons should be moving back into safety. There's a lot of cash in the bank here for Astrea that isn't being spent. I wouldn't mind seeing a couple of extra batteries and cannons in the natural, and I also wouldn't mind just seeing Astrea in a slightly more defensive posture. He keeps pushing away from the static, which is not usually how you want to use the static. Those are some good disruptor shots though. Okay, here we go. Classic moving in right now, wants to snipe Immortals over carriers. I'm not entirely sure about this move, because he says if I take out all the ground units first and the air later is going to be easier, but the air has a lot of damage output as well, of course, with the +1 upgrade that these carriers already have. No armor upgrades here for the Stalkers, for the Archons. I think Classic might be in a little bit of trouble. Now, he's not going to die straight up, but every single time one of these attacks doesn't actually kill anything, like it doesn't reset any type of significant count of some unit or of the static defense, or takes out a base or reduces the probe count, an attack is unsuccessful. Now this is slightly more successful because you're trading out Stalkers against Void Rays, and Stalkers are way easier to replace. There's very limited production here for Astrea. Now we see a couple of probes also go down. This was a very nice move. I'm not sure if this was a play resource lost wise where it was necessarily good for Classic, but it created a little bit of chaos. It took out a bunch of Void Rays, a bunch of probes as well, pretty much exactly what you want. And now these cannons can be taken out. Every cannon you take out needs to be rebuilt, because Zealot run-bys are just a huge threat still at this point. Left side base has gone up without any issue at all, which I would consider an issue for Classic. He has taken a 5th base, going up to 86 workers, and I think right now would be an okay time to start his own Stargate, to get his own upgrades going. Maybe even start getting shield upgrades as well here, because it feels that either he needs to kill his opponent right now, or he's going to be pretty much in shambles. Once again, Astrea fighting without the help of the static defense. These carriers are in trouble. This is just so odd. There's so much static defense there. Just moving your carriers back a little bit into battery range seems so worth it here. This was a really nice trade for Classic. Once again, look at resetting, constantly resetting the important units. 8 disruptors, 13 Void Rays, and 2 carriers. So that's 2 Oracles have gone down already in this game. And yes, a lot of Stalkers, a lot of Zealots, a lot of Archons have died as well. But these units are so easily replaceable by his massive income. So it is a different story here. I don't recall how to close that. Okay, there we go. Now we have some Stalkers going towards the left side. Once these cannons go down, this base is wide open. So this is absolutely key to defend. Like, the moment there's no static defense here, Classic can just move towards this right side, position his army here, and start sending in Zealot run-bys towards the fort. And there's absolutely nothing that Astrea can do about that. Astrea does not have a good army for split-ups. He can't just send 2 Void Rays and deal with 10 Zealots. No, there's no way. He needs the static defense. This 5th base is going to get absolutely pumped over here, by the way. Wouldn't mind if you just go for a snipe on the cybernetics core. I think that's even more important than the cannons here. Yeah, good call. Minusing that +3 air weapons is definitely huge. Big warp in on the left side. Okay, he's going for the static defense. I wouldn't mind if he waits for a next warp in. So you go with 2 warp ins. 1 warp in of Zealots, 1 warp in of Stalkers. I actually think that would be a pretty decent call. Okay, here we go. Doesn't want to blink in there. So he's just going to walk away. These Void Rays going in for a base snipe, which is kind of a ballsy play, I have to say. Not a play I necessarily super enjoy, because it allows these Stalkers to go do something, and that's indeed what they are doing right now. We have a huge Stalker warping into the main base. It's going to bring the total Stalker count up to 32, and now we might even see some production being taken out here. Astrea in some trouble. Fort base is being protected and will stabilize. Void Rays moving across the map. Don't think these Void Rays are capable of taking out the production of his opponent as fast as Classic is taking out the production of Astrea, though. As here we have a lot of Stalkers being recalled home. That might have been an incorrect move, though. Now these Stalkers are vulnerable, and these Stalkers are vulnerable as well. We have a recall coming from the other side, and there is some potential here all of a sudden that these Stalkers might end up dying. There's only 70 workers left remaining for Classic. I still think that's enough, though, on these 5 bases. His opponent only on 47 workers. Lots of cash in the bank for Astrea, sure, but... Oh, can you get a prismatic alignment? I guess it's not available. A little bit painful, and this was a bad trade for Classic. Luckily, there's more Stalkers coming in here. Static defense non-existent, as we have a 7 Stalker warp in, and I think the game is just pretty much over. Very nice play out of Classic. I really thought the time to transition was there, but Classic proved me wrong by just continuously pushing in, and I'm a little bit disappointed here by Astrea that he fought without static defense so many times, basically, especially in between this area when there still was static in both bases, and it was a little bit confusing to me. I feel like that might have at least partially lost him the game. Of course, the bank didn't help, but that was also due to the lack of infrastructure after the Stalkers entered the main base. It's always so funny to me when you have these types of games, right? With a kind of a weird start. I mean, Nexus first is not very common, I would say. It's actually extremely uncommon due to a couple of reasons. Delayed tech, but also the inability of the Nexus first to deal appropriately with a lot of early game threats. Think Proxy Robo, even things like a 4-gate can be so hard to hold with a Nexus first. Depending on, of course, how you open with a Nexus first, because there's a couple of options there as well. But yeah, it felt like Astrea got into a spot where he should have been quite comfortable, and he then went into a weirder strategy. Like air toss is not very common again. There's like 2 uncommon builds kind of stacked on top of one another. But he still had a decent shot, I think. If you don't fight near those, if you fight near those cannons, you fight near those batteries, especially. Like a couple of carriers could have been saved there. And it's just so important to keep everything alive. It just compounds so much. Your carriers, your Void Rays, your disruptors. The more you get, like, it is not linear growth. Like, it's really exponential growth of strength with those units. Like, if you're like 130 supply, it's not great. But you're like 160, 165. You're really hitting numbers where a maxed out Zealot Archon Stalker army isn't going to compete with you anymore. And I think Astrea almost hit those points a couple of times, and Classic was just fast enough into stopping that. Because that army is a real threat. Like a carrier Void Ray Disruptor army doesn't get beaten. It just doesn't. It doesn't get beaten by anything on the ground. It is simply not possible, even if you're not maxed out with that army. The only way you can beat it is by either going into Tempest, by base trading, or by shaving off like parts of the army when the air toss player is moving out, and then making sure they can't reinforce to that army, and then with like a bank twice the size of your opponent, hoping that you can win. That is a possibility, but otherwise you're just not winning. Stalkers don't trade well against carrier Void Ray Disruptor. Archons trade well against carrier Void Ray, but not well against Disruptor, and well, Zealots don't shoot up. So it's always one of these things where if the air toss player gets that army up, you need something else, and you basically need it in a second. Like 1 second you don't have anything, then you need like 12 Tempest, so you can be one-shotting basically everything in an entire army. So it's a really weird composition there. But that's now behind us, and we're in our next game, in which it seems that Astrea is actually opening up with a... What is this? One base blink. That's gonna be 4-gate then, isn't it? Does seem to be the case. It's gonna be 4-gate blink over here. 4-gate blink is one of these builds that you look at it and you go, yeah, I guess that's something, but is that really the something you wanna, you wanna go for? Is this it? It feels very scary to play, and for some simple reasons that whoa. This is some Wings of Liberty tricks. The reason why it's so scary to play is that if your opponent opens up with a sentry, like a sentry first, and uses that sentry first to scout with a hallucination, which didn't happen here for whatever reason, Classic is saving all of his energy. Basically, you can just get a reactive robo really early on, like 40 seconds faster than this, basically. and you'll have an Immortal out, and you're going to have so many gate units, and you have batteries. You can die against it. However, if as the defender against the Blinkeling, you're opening up with a Stargate and an expansion, or you're opening up with an expansion and Blink, you're in trouble. Anything that doesn't include sentries and doesn't include a scout can be really difficult to hold this type of build order. We have to wait and see how Astrea is going to do here, as he tried warping in some stuff, but this pylon did get spotted. 2 probes went down. Sentry almost gets taken out, but not quite. Yeah, I think this robo is simply too late here. I think this robo is simply too late right now. I mean, we're working on, what is this, 3 extra Stalkers right now? 3 extra Stalkers coming in, okay? So we're going up to 8. Ability to one-shot some stuff is here. Oh, this is good. This is very, very nice for Astrea. Just getting a couple of shots off. Ideally, you want to force a super battery before the first fight with Blink. Oh, that was bad. That was bad. Losing a Stalker there is painful. Look at that. The overall units lost. Classic has been microing this better for sure. I think he might actually survive till the Immortal. So, imagine this game, but with 3 more Adepts and 2 more Stalkers. You hit this Immortal one time, Blink on top of it, and you one-shot it. Like, you're practically one-shotting it. It's not going to be the case here. Is this for an hallucination or for... for Force Field? Okay, this is just going nowhere for Astrea, honestly. Astrea's okay. He popped that. Now, Classic wants to be moving this Immortal back a little bit, because it's obvious, yep, that there's going to be a Blink on top of it. When that happens, which is... Woo! Felt like it was going to be now. You want to be ready. You want to be ready. You don't want to make the escape easy for the Stalker player. There we go. That's a Blink forward. Gets 1 shot off. Not enough. There goes a Sentry, but there also goes a Stalker. Trades. A little bit better now for Astrea in the past few minutes. What was that Blink? Kills an Immortal, it seems like. Did not really kill anything else. Did he lose another Stalker? Lost 2 Stalkers, I think, there for an Immortal. Trades like that are okay, but... you need to do them a little bit faster. Okay, here we go. Once more. Moved in. Killed a Stalker. Blinked away. We have a Prism on the way. We have a Twilight Council on the way here as well for Classic. Classic wants to use this Prism in order to defend his units. Are there any batteries in the main base? The answer is no. This double Stalker Blink went completely and horribly wrong. Now we do get to see a pylon being taken out, and as there is no Blink yet for these Stalkers, the maneuverability of Astrea's army is just a lot higher. Sentry does not quite have a force field yet. This maneuver, this trick was done too quickly. If you can get a force field on this ramp, all of a sudden all those batteries are gone. The fights become so much easier for Astrea. I still think he might be in an okay position though. He warped in a Zealot right now. We have the potential for a Blink on top of this Prism, on top of this Immortal. However you want to do it. Okay, here comes the force field. It's going to pick up this. He's going to pick this up. There we go. Sniped on the Prism, but Immortal got dropped. Cannot one-shot these Immortals anymore, and that means they get a lot of damage in. That is going to be game 100%. Even without that battery in the back, there is no way anymore, all of a sudden, for Astrea to turn this around. That Blink needs to kill something at once or in 2 shots. Took out the Prism, did not get the Immortal afterwards, and that definitely cost him the game. I'm not saying he was going to be in a good spot otherwise, but that is what lost it to him. 2-0 in favor of Classic, and we'll be heading into game number 3. As we're here on Gresvin now. I kind of like the build, honestly, that Astrea was going for. And I even like the idea of having a pylon in your opponent's main base. Like, I think it's not bad, but the moment a move like that fails, with a build as aggressive as the 4-gate Blink, I think you just instantly lose. I mean, you lose, what, 3 Adepts, you kill 2 probes. It's not enough. It's simply not enough. And I think Astrea knows that as well. So it's a risk that he willingly takes, and the risk didn't pay off. I think that is actually, that type of move is the definition of a cheesy move. It is one of those things that, if not scouted, will work out perfectly most of the time, right? You're going to deal a lot of damage, basically instantly winning you the game. But if your pylon gets scouted, there's nothing you can do anymore. Like, that pylon is gone, and everything you warped in there, like the 3 Adepts that Astrea apparently warped in, are just going to be, they're dead. You know, they're not going to come back. And that's a loss you'll need to accept at that point. I almost feel like this type of move would be better with a more macro-focused build. As in you take a risk like that, and it doesn't work out. It's not really the end of the world if you're playing a macro build, right? Because... didn't get it. Well, no, didn't get it. But then again, there's also less pressure on your opponent in that case. So it's easier for them to figure out that something is wrong. There's a lot of factors with this type of stuff. A Classic was attentive enough to figure out what was going on. We're gonna have to wait and see what he's planning on this time around. What are you doing, Classic? Double Stalker, Warp Gate. Okay. That's a play I respect. That definitely is a play I respect. And here we have an Adept Stalker. This is one of the newer builds. That's what all the cool kids are doing. The TikTok generation of StarCraft 2. They play Adept Stalker and they use the one Adept basically just for scouting. Maybe they get into your main base. The thing with this build is that often all you see is just the one Stalker and not the Adept. So you're like, okay, I don't have to worry about keeping a probe on patrol here initially. And then all of a sudden that Adept goes wild and boom. Or it also can be the other way around, of course, where you think it's just a single Adept, but in reality it's two Adepts. And you think it's just two Adepts. You think it's two Adepts, and in reality it's just a single Adept. So you start preparing for higher Adept counts, which can be bad as well, where you're like over defending and you're getting afraid of like Stargate being into play as well. Well, actually, it's going to be Stargate here, way faster as well for Astrea. I think Classic responded with a Stargate after seeing the Adept, which is not an uncommon response, but in this case it's the incorrect response. We did see the Nexus here, as this Adept is going to take a little bit of a beating, and well, actually maybe more than just a little bit of a beating. This Stalker is going to find the no! Shade gets spotted, but also just walks straight past it. Very unfortunate. Oracle a lot quicker here for Astrea than for his opponent. But we do have 4 Stalkers on the map. Is there a battery? There is not. Are there enough Stalkers at home here for Astrea? There are not. This Adept is the only lifeline that Astrea has right now. If this Adept had died a little bit quicker, these 4 Stalkers would be hitting this pylon. And that would be a real issue here. That would have been a real issue for Astrea. He would need to wait for the warp in order to defend this then. And that's usually not quite what you want. Would have lost this pylon, been supply blocked, lose a couple of rounds of worker production. This battery is simply not fast enough, and this Oracle of Astrea is going to cause some big damage here. 3 worker kills doesn't look like a whole lot, but it actually is quite significant. 4 worker kills. That is a significant amount of worker kills there. Where right now, it's on Classic to do something back here. And if he can't, then he's in trouble. Classic is just going to be in trouble. The rest of the game is completely mirrored. He's just down 5 workers for no reason currently. That's never a good position to be in. Second Oracle is also out. Are just going to straight up fly into this Phoenix. Oh. Do we have a recall available? I hope we do, right? Yeah, there we go. Recall is available. This feels like a very favorable game right now for Astrea, who's even dealing some damage against that Oracle. It's going to be a Phoenix fight here, no way. Is he actually going to engage with that Phoenix? I'd be very surprised by that. Just extremely surprised by that. Seems to be the case though, he's just going in. Okay, here come the Oracles. Up, lift. No need to lift, he says. Oh, a little bit of missed target there out of Astrea. Gets 6 worker kills at once. And now turns around with this Phoenix. Starts attacking his opponent's Oracle. And I think this Phoenix is going to keep his own Oracles alive. Look, they're just trading Oracle for a Phoenix now. This Phoenix is definitely going to end up dying. Still a fine trade for Astrea. Takes out 6 workers, loses an Oracle and a Phoenix. But his opponent's Oracle is gone, so his Phoenix isn't necessary anymore. Still has detection with this Oracle, which means his third base technically can go down. About as quick as Classics. He's up in workers. He should be up in gateways as well. Yep, there we go. 1, 2 against, well, just the 2. So more unit production. We see the robotics facility. Classic is forced to build this because he lost his Oracle in case there are DTs. It's really important. Astrea scouting around for any potential pylons that are hidden. Astrea knows right now that there are no pylons hidden and probably wants to go for a bit of an aggressive move, which is a move I completely approve of. I think this is a very good call here. Blink is done for Astrea. Not yet for Classic though. Classic could have been in trouble there had Astrea decided to engage. Did not do that. 4 more Stalkers are being warped in. No battery defensively. 15 Stalkers against 9 Stalkers. 12 after a triple warp in. Still, that's a 3 Stalker difference here. And with every warp in cycle, That difference should increase by 1. That was a terrible blink. Can I just say that? Yes, I can say that. I'm a grown man. I can do what I want. Worker count favorable as well here. This is dead. And now all of a sudden, okay, we see Forge. Probably a robotics facility should be going down. At the same time, Astrea is moving in, snipes another Stalker here. 12 against 9. Good micro back. Couple of probes are going to end up falling. Do we have continued probe production? Yes, we do. Wouldn't mind seeing some extra Stalker warp-ins, as that Phoenix is going to get blasted. What is it here? 14 against 9. This is absolute trouble here for Classic, let's face it. He's down in workers once more. Still down in basically everything. Upgrades, unit count. Ooh, this is upper ramp though. Don't like that. That was an interesting blink out of Classic. Double Adept getting warped in. This is going to try and create a little bit of chaos. Where do you guys go? Okay, towards the bottom side. Wanting to probably attack the third base while the Stalkers go towards the natural. I usually prefer the other way. Stalkers towards the third and then Adepts in the natural. Seems to usually have a higher success rate as well, but we'll have to wait and see if that's going to be the case here too. 13 Stalkers against 13. Okay, he's shading in rather than shading out. I think they got spotted here for sure. Yeah, I got spotted here for sure. That's a dead probe though. These Adepts now will also most likely die, so not entirely worth it. Want to blink? Yeah, definitely want to blink in. For the first time in this game, it feels like Classic has a lead in the Stalker count, but he's down an upgrade. He's going to be down in production, down a base. And you gotta wonder how he's planning on getting back into this game, right? Could maybe see like through tech. It's just difficult. I don't see an Archon push here working. So then it would have to be Disruptors. But Disruptors against such a high gateway player like Astrea is here seems hard. And Astrea already is transitioning into Disruptors. Says, hey, I have better upgrades. I have more bases. If I get 2-3 Disruptors out, there's legitimately nothing that you can do. He's getting cannons as well, which I believe to be the correct call. Wouldn't mind seeing a cannon over here, or maybe even just in the main in general. Fort base going up for Classic. I think this should be getting cancelled, if I'm being real. There's no upgrade for Classic, and Astrea has more army as well. Like it's like 30 more army supply, which is pretty darn significant. That was a bad blink and bad move command behind it as well. I actually feel like Classic is almost winning that fight, which never should happen. The moment Astrea knows there's a fort base up there, I think he can just go into it. Not a whole lot that Classic can do about it. More Zealots being warped in. +2 starting. Still no +1, of course. Astrea makes the incorrect call here. Look at this. Thinks that the base is going to be down here. Sends 2 Zealots down there. And has the right base occupied as well. Is not thinking about the middle base out of Classic. Poor guy. It's still completely fine. He could be throwing down his own 5th base at this point, but it might allow Classic to stabilize on 4 bases while pushing out Disruptors. And that is really something that could be an issue, in a way. I'm just thinking about it. If there's anything that could really go horribly wrong here and that would allow for Classic to come back. And this is really the only thing. If you get 4 bases up, you get 8 gases. You stabilize on 6-7 Disruptors. You have enough cannons in the other bases to withstand the harassment coming from multiple angles. It's technically always possible, because you can just max out on Disruptors and take better fights. Or you can max out on Disruptors and start taking a 5th base. Max out on Disruptors and start taking into carriers, maybe even a little before you max out. So more cannons are definitely a good answer here to some of the issues that this might still have. Observer is going to get taken out. Here comes a big run by. This is why you need cannons, because this type of large run by is going to be extremely common. Disruptors trying to move into position, making sure they can't be caught off guard. +3 on the way for Astrea as well. Like every little fight, every side fight is going to go the way of Astrea, just purely based on the fact that he has better upgrades. So you have 2 Zealots fighting each other. Astrea is going to end up winning that every single time. What is this? These are the Zealots. Should they move back in? Well, they won't. We'll be fine. Classic with a good blink forward. Here comes a blink forward out of Astrea. Wanting to snipe that base. He's not quite getting it. His own Disruptor slightly out of position. Zealots moving into the mineral line. That was not a disruptor trade. It could have been, though. This disruptor's almost in trouble. We're getting closer and closer to that max out, and it means that Classic is closer and closer of getting back into the game. Scratch that plan. Oh my god. Oh my no. These trades are so good for Astrea because he doesn't really want the disruptor count to grow too high because he's gonna have way more gateway units. And disruptors kind of mitigate the gateway unit lead. Right? You have this unit that just says, okay, gateway units are good, but that early game lead, that mid game lead is now pretty much disappearing. But the moment you reset disruptor counts like that, all of a sudden the fact that there's 39 zealots on the map is hugely beneficial here for Astrea. Hugely beneficial. As more disruptors actually falling on the side of Astrea. And in the initial trades, both players have lost 4. Stalker Warping gets blasted here. That's a quick blink back. Will help him stay alive. Ooh. So difficult to kill Protoss players often when they're kind of camping on disruptors. Astrea does want to make something happen here. 2 disruptors being pumped out on his side at a time. Wouldn't mind seeing a 6th base at this point. Maybe even slightly more gas as well. This Zealot run by has some real potential though. There's nothing here anymore to defend. It needs to be these disruptors. It's disruptors or nothing. Oh my god, he just killed 10 of his own workers? Doesn't show up on the kill count, but every single worker ended up going down here. That is not the correct play. Astrea is going to move in here right now. We'll take out this 3rd base as well. I don't think Classic should have sent it yet. After taking out that many workers, I think he might have had some real potential in a real macro game. In a more evenly matched type of scenario. More and more disruptors are trying to move forward. Ground weapons level 3 coming up right now for Astrea. Here comes the snipe on the 1st disruptor. That is an issue. As the 2nd disruptor also gets blasted. Okay, this is a huge issue here for Classic. Huge issue for Classic. Is these zealots still going ham? We might actually go for a surround on these bad boys. Oof. Disruptor also gets blasted there. Yeah, I think this is pretty much game, honestly. Disruptor count non-existent on the side of Classic. With only 1. That gets sniped, of course. Gets jumped up on. And we have 7 Stalkers, 11 Zealots, 16 Stalkers and 5 Disruptors on the side of Astrea. Yeah. Count of everything on the side of Classic has greatly diminished. Astrea takes his first game in this series. That will bring us into game number 4. And here we go on Babylon with that. Ooh, what is this? Wait, what actually is this? Okay, both players are doing something stupid. Why are we pylon scouting? Is this a cannon rush? Are we cannon rushing? No. Wait, why did he pylon scout? Probably wants to block a Nexus first, actually, Classic. Still has a bad taste in his mouth after the game number 1, despite him winning it. Oh no, and now Astrea decides to go for the 2-gate forge. That is interesting. That is mighty interesting here. Okay, it's not going to be a 2-gate forge, it's going to be 2-gate assimilator? Okay, I have no clue what these builds are. I like that Classic is going for a full wall, despite this not being capable of becoming a full wall. I think he actually messed this up. Don't think you can put another 3x3 building in here. There's gonna be 2 pylons. Are you just gonna chrono out like what? 2 zealots and that's it? I don't actually know what the plan is here. If you're Astrea. This seems extremely interesting though. Just extremely interesting. I think this is a response to him being scouted, the fast assimilator. And he's gonna get double zealots. Wants to throw down that cybernetic spore in the main base and does that immediately. And these zealots really need to achieve something, and so far it doesn't really look like they are going to be capable of achieving anything. You have 2 more zealots on the way here for Classic. The ability to build a battery is here too. Don't forget that. Okay, 2nd pylon. I kind of like that, just for safety's sake, right? Just for safety's sake. Do you want to get a battery here? Is my real question. Okay, he's looking for a surround. And in the moment these zealots come out... Oh, did not manage to quite get that surround going. There's 2 more zealots here popping out. This should be an adept. A stalker here is the incorrect call. I believe. I think that's actually the incorrect call. Adept with the added damage, of course, against zealots would help so much more. And we also see adepts coming out of Astrea here. Oh, this is a tricky area to defend here for our good friend Classic. But he's doing a great job. He's going to be taking out 1, 2 of these zealots, loses one of his own, kills another one. It's going to be... Now, all of a sudden, I'm fine with this Stalker transition. 19 workers against 19, but this is the only production that Astrea has, which means that if these gateways get depowered, the game practically ends. And I don't see a way in a world... I don't see a world in which these gateways don't get depowered. And then what is Astrea gonna do? Throw down a robotics facility? Gonna get a 1 immortal out? And 1 immortal is not enough. Like, you'll never be capable of properly defending your natural with that. So I think at this point, Classic can pretty much just move across the map with 4 or 5, maybe 6 Stalkers, a single Zealot, expand behind it, get a Stargate or get Blink or whatever type of tech that it is that Classic wants. It simply doesn't matter. He's so far ahead, and he's gonna be so far ahead until the end of time. I really believe that that Astrea is dead here, and that would be a sad ending for this series. Oh, that probe's gonna get spotted, and it's gonna get no, it's not gonna get sniped. Got pretty close though. Got pretty close. Yeah, this immortal is already too late. There's gonna be like 12 workers who will be dead. This game is completely over. Really, just completely over. Just focus down these probes and deny your opponent's mining, I would say. And Classic completely agrees with that. Some people might start attacking these batteries, but that is not necessary. GG gets called. Astrea leaves the game. 12 workers to 24. It's the only thing he could have done as Classic wins this series. And that brings us to the score currently in this group. So we have Classic tied in first place with Beyond, both with a 3-1 map score. Dark and Astrea on a tied third place, also both with a 1-3 map score. And next up is going to be Dark, our Korean Zerg player, versus the American Protoss in an exciting best of 5 tomorrow here on this channel. Be sure to tune in for that. Thanks so much for watching. Hope you did enjoy this. If you did, don't forget to hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, and I'll see all of you next time for a new video. Thanks so much for watching, and bye-bye.